What if the woman promising to fix Britain's economy is actually part of the problem? Rachel Reeves says there's a £22 billion black hole, but can't explain her numbers. She pushes austerity, yet enjoys VIP perks while families struggle. In this video, we expose the cracks in her story, the backlash from experts, and the hypocrisy that could bring Labour crashing down. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear might change how you see her, for good.
The general election, that would not have been possible unless I had delivered a budget that brought stability back to the economy. And I'll make no apologies for doing that, because it's not the wealthy and the most privileged who lose out when the economy is unstable. It's ordinary working people and ordinary...
Rachel Reeves made a bold claim on Trevor Phillips' live show.
The costs of borrowing go up, who see that uncertainty in the economy having a direct impact on their living standards. I have returned stability to the economy, and that was the right thing to do.
Let's talk about what you are actually going to do next. It's reported that you want to cut civil service costs by 10%. Now, what is it that civil servants are doing now that we don't really need to have done? And can you give an example of a task done by humans that's going to be done completely by AI?
Yeah, there's a number of briefing roles that can now be done by technology. Business use technology and AI much more than we do in the public sector. And it's one of the reasons why in the zero-based review that every department is doing at the moment.
But principally as an aid, not as a replacement for human capabilities?
Well, actually, a bit of both. I mean, for example, in departments like His Majesty's Revenue and Customs and DWP, we're rooting out fraud in part by using technology much better. That's a really good example of how we are using technology to deliver better public services at lower cost to the taxpayer. Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, announced the abolition of NHS England, the biggest quango in the world. He was here last week telling me about that. Employing more than 15,000 people. We can make efficiencies there. We can do the same work with less people if we reduce that duplication. We've already taken out 2 regulators because we don't think...
Political commentator. Will, very good morning to you.
G'day, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Hard to believe, isn't it, that Rachel Reeves has fallen for this one. That here she is again having to defend taking free tickets. And with the most ridiculous explanation of all, she said, these are tickets that I could not buy. What, you mean otherwise they were given to you for free?
Yeah, I'm sure the public are thrilled to hear that she had money can't buy tickets to Sabrina Carpenter. I can't fathom the stupidity here.
So, after watching that, are we really supposed to believe Rachel Reeves has restored stability to the economy? Let's be honest. What we just witnessed wasn't leadership, it was damage control wrapped in political theatre. Reeves opened with bold declarations, claiming the general election wouldn't have been possible without her budget. But ask yourself, was that budget truly about economic stability or political survival? She claims she's protecting ordinary working people, yet in the same breath outlines plans to slash the civil service by 10% and automate human roles with AI. Who does that really help? Not the families struggling to find work. Not the public servants already stretched to their limits. It's a convenient narrative, but it's not reality. And then comes the punchline: Rachel Reeves, champion of austerity, caught enjoying VIP concert tickets she couldn't buy but happily accepted. Let that sink in. While millions tighten their belts, she's lounging in a luxury box, using the excuse of security to justify a freebie most Britons couldn't dream of affording. That's not just out of touch, it's tone deaf. And the public sees it. Her answers were vague. Her figures didn't add up. And when pressed by Trevor Phillips, she floundered. You saw it. Every attempt to explain her numbers fell flat. The moment she was challenged, the confidence crumbled. Worse still, Reeves seemed more interested in optics than solutions. Cutting civil service costs sounds decisive until you realize she couldn't even estimate how many jobs would be lost. Is this the clarity and competence we expect from someone who wants to run the country's finances? Now ask yourself, is this really the person who should be trusted with your future? Because if this is Labour's big solution, it's starting to look a lot like the same old politics: empty promises, hollow rhetoric, and perks for the powerful while the rest are told to sacrifice. This isn't about party politics anymore. It's about credibility. And Rachel Reeves is rapidly losing hers. Let us know in the comments, do you trust her numbers? Do you buy her explanations? Or are you, like many across the UK, starting to feel that this version of stability comes at far too high a cost? Stick with us, this is just the beginning.
Today, it was announced that MPs' salaries are rising by 2.8% to around 94 grand a year. As Chancellor, she reportedly receives roughly £67,000 a year on top of that. Her and her husband, a senior civil servant, reportedly make 74 grand a year as landlords, and his salary is reported as being as much as £174,000. So that is a combined total of somewhere in the region of 402 grand a year. So she still takes freebies, does she? Well, of course, it was all for security reasons.
I took those tickets to go with a member of my family. I thought that was the right thing to do from a security perspective.
Did you pay for them? Because you...
Two regulators, but you've invented another 27.
That is just not the case.
Okay.
We've taken out 2 regulators. That's been welcomed by business, and it would also reduce the cost of running the state. But NHS England, 15,000 people today, often duplicating the work that the Department of Health is doing. I want money spent on the front line, not on bureaucracy.
How many civil servants are you going to get rid of?
Well, what we've done is not a civil servant target, but an admin. The growth numbers have come in higher than many expected, but I'm still not satisfied with the level of growth that our economy is achieving, and that's why I am determined to go further and faster in delivering the economic growth and the improvements in living standards that our country deserves.
You say the growth figures are higher than expected, but your government promised Britain it would be the fastest growing country in the G7. 6 months in, and we're barely just growing.
Well, these weren't tickets that you could pay for, so there wasn't a price to those tickets. Obviously, I will declare that the value of them, but they weren't tickets that you were able to buy.
What? Well, these weren't tickets. Oh, you couldn't pay for those tickets. Oh, come on. But her own colleagues have had enough of that, and I'm not surprised, really. Cabinet Minister Heidi Alexander slapped Reeves down.
Let's not sugarcoat it. What we've just seen is a masterclass in political double standards. Rachel Reeves stood there, calmly announcing that MPs' salaries are going up nearly £94,000 a year. Her own income as Chancellor? Roughly £67,000 on top of that. And then it gets even more staggering. Together with her husband, a senior civil servant, they reportedly rake in a combined £402,000 a year, including rental income and his salary. That's nearly £500,000 annually. And yet, she still takes freebies? This is the same woman preaching austerity, urging ordinary working people to accept cuts, sacrifice services, and brace for job losses. But when it comes to herself, suddenly there's room for luxury. She says she accepted the VIP concert tickets for security reasons. Really? That's the best she's got? It's not just insulting, it's outrageous. And when pressed, she dodged and deflected. You couldn't buy those tickets, she insisted. So what? That just makes it worse. If the public can't afford them or even access them, what message does that send when a politician on nearly £500,000 a year enjoys them for free? Now, take a step back and think. While families are battling the cost of living crisis, while hospitals are stretched, and public servants are being told their jobs might be replaced by AI or cut entirely, Rachel Reeves is enjoying perks behind the curtain, completely detached from the reality she's forcing on everyone else. And what about her economic record? She claims growth is up, but it's nowhere near the promises made. Britain was supposed to be leading the G7. Instead, we're barely crawling forward. She says she's not satisfied, but doesn't seem to connect that dissatisfaction to her own policies. Instead, she repeats vague platitudes about going further and faster. Faster where, exactly? Further into disillusionment? And it's not just the public growing tired of the act, her own colleagues are now pushing back. When Cabinet Minister Heidi Alexander publicly shut her down, it wasn't just a policy disagreement. It was a warning shot. Enough is enough. So now it's over to you. Do you believe someone pulling in nearly £500,000 a year, enjoying exclusive VIP perks and spinning economic fairy tales, truly understands what you are going through? Or are we witnessing the rise of another elite politician using the language of the people to protect the privileges of the powerful? Let us know in the comments. The double standards are clear, the numbers don't lie, and the public deserves answers.
Today's figures are a bit of a failure, aren't they? Especially when you consider GDP per head has gone down.
It's not possible to turn around more than a decades of poor economic performance in just a few months. But we are doing what is necessary to bring stability back to the economy, reforming the economy, the planning system, regulation and pensions, to encourage investment in our economy, which is the lifeblood of a successful civil servant target, but an admin target. So that also targets consultancy
But how many
spend,
people
for example.
how many people are going to lose their jobs?
Well, it will be up for every department to set out those plans. But I would rather have people working on the front line in our schools and our hospitals and our police, rather than in back office jobs. So this isn't just about...
No, but you have to be straight with people. How many civil servants are going to lose their jobs in broad terms? OK, I'm not asking you for, 532 or 5,027, but broadly speaking, is it 5,000? Is it 10,000? Is it 15,000?
We've said a 10 to 15%, 15% by the end of the Parliament, reduction in admin budgets. In admin budgets. So that includes consultancy, it includes travel budgets, it includes communications budgets. So it doesn't all have to be about people. But when we make those savings...
It's going to be about people.
And when
you can't say this is going to be pain-free.
No, but what I am saying is it will deliver better public services, because I would rather we had people employed by the NHS working in our hospitals rather than in a government department. So this is about doing things differently, putting money where people see it most. During COVID...
This is what people say about politicians. I ask you a question that says, broadly speaking, how many roles are going to get lost? I cannot believe that you're telling your colleagues we need to take 10% out without any idea how many of those are going to be actual jobs. I just cannot believe that that's what you're doing.
I'm confident that we can reduce civil service numbers by 10,000. And during COVID, there were big increases in the number of people who were working in the civil service. That was the right thing to do to respond to those challenges.
You don't like the changes that we've made. I say the door is open and you can...
Did you catch that? Because what we just witnessed was one of the clearest examples of political doublespeak in recent memory. Rachel Reeves was asked a simple, direct question: how many jobs will be lost under your cuts? And she couldn't answer it. Not even roughly. Instead, we got vague language about admin budgets, efficiencies, and shifting resources to the front line. Let's be real. When a politician talks about cutting 10 to 15% in admin budgets, it's not just about stationery and travel costs. It's people. Real jobs. Real families. Real consequences. And yet, Reeves had no idea, or worse, wouldn't say, how many livelihoods her plan will destroy. She claims today's figures aren't a failure, but admits GDP per head is falling. Then insists she's bringing stability back to the economy, while growth is barely visible. How long are we supposed to wait for the magical turnaround that never comes? This is the same Rachel Reeves who preaches responsibility, lectures us on doing what's necessary, and tells the country there's no pain-free way forward, while refusing to be honest about who will feel that pain. Spoiler alert, it won't be her. Let's not forget, she's making close to £400,000 a year when you combine her income with her husband's, plus property earnings. And yet she wants civil servants, many earning a fraction of that, to brace for mass layoffs. Where's the fairness? Where's the transparency? The most stunning moment? When she was directly challenged, surely you must know how many jobs this affects, she stumbled. She deflected. She couldn't say. And that's the problem. Because if you're planning a 10,000 job cut and can't explain how or where, then you're not leading, you're gambling with people's futures. And let's be honest, saying the door is open if you don't like the changes is not leadership. It's arrogance. It's the kind of tone that alienates, not unites. The kind of cold, bureaucratic language that turns hope into frustration. So now it's your turn. Do you feel reassured? Or do you feel like you just watched a politician dodge every meaningful question while pretending to care about working families? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Because this isn't just about policy, it's about trust. And right now, Rachel Reeves has given the public every reason to lose it.